The blast technique is just jaw-droppingly good at this. If you have a trauma, most people think a trauma is something really extreme and severe, but actually it's any event that's really tricky for you. Okay, and what's traumatic for one person might not be traumatic for another. It's how we deal with it. If you've got the scale of like 0 is nothing, 10 is as bad as it could be, anything over and above about 4 we can really clear. And we use that using some very simple eye movement from left to right, and sometimes I do other things as well, depending. What we do to begin with, I'll ask you to write a chronology of difficult events throughout your life. And it could be, for example, as a child, you fell off your bike and broke your arm, and you might think, well, that's not a trauma, but actually it was deeply traumatic and challenging for you at the time. And although you've pushed it away and buried it, and you know, logically as an adult you can explain it away, it still has these triggers for you. So with the neuroscience, what happens is, normally when there's an event occurs, we're able to process it, and the event moves from the right hemisphere of the brain across to the left, where it's filed away, nice neat files. But if it's particularly traumatic or difficult, or you just haven't been able to process it for whatever reason, it stays in the right hand side of the brain, going around and around and around. And this is where it's really hard to get over something. So, for example, you might walk along a street and smell a smell and go, I just feel really anxious, but I don't even know why. But it's a smell associated with something that happened in an event that you've not filed away properly, or a particular person says something to you, and you might completely overreact. You go, God, what was that all about? I'm just really upset. So the amazing way that blast works is by using these very simple eye movements. It allows these unprocessed memories, emotions, which create emotions, create feelings in the body. It allows them to move across to the left of the brain, where they can be processed and tidied away and cleared up, and it just becomes an event from the past. So I was working with an older chap, I think he must be, not old, 60s, maybe 70s, and he wanted to deal with something that had been triggering him since he was a young man. And we just dealt with it really quickly. He knew exactly what it was. It was fairly well contained. We talked about it, we did the eye movement, and he just went, it's just really remarkable. I can think of it, this event, but it feels like it almost happened to somebody else. I can be really matter of fact about it. It's its simplicity. The best things are always so simple, aren't they? And you don't need a lot of sessions. One trauma, one session. Or if it's something that you want to clear, but for some reason you don't want to tell anybody. So, there's never any judgment coming from me with any of the work I do. It's just absolute honour that people trust me and are looking for help. We could go, right, okay, this event, tell me some of the words that explain your emotion. But for me, right, I think the issue can be often, and if you've had a lot of counselling, you may again identify with this. You go and you talk to your therapist for an hour, at the end of which all of this emotion and this pain is coming up, and you're expressing it, or you're talking about it, and then you go away and you go, well, I've talked about it, but it's like I've still got the rocks in my backpack. I was working with a woman the other day who had some abuse in her childhood, and there was this one particular event. So we you say, what is it on a scale of 0 to 10? And then we talk about it a little bit. The good thing about Blast is you don't have to really revisit the event. I know some trauma clearing techniques, you really have to really reconnect with it. So we talked about it and we went through the process, and at the end of it she said, God, it's amazing. I can picture the event, I can remember it, but it feels like it's in black and white, and I can just kind of go, oh, it happened.